The train station buzzed with a familiar, tired rhythm. Commuters shuffled past one another, headphones in, collars turned up against the cool drizzle that had settled over the city like a sigh. Inside the 6:45 p.m. local from Grand Central, the air was warm, crowded, and filled with the quiet rustle of newspapers, the occasional ding of text messages, and the low murmur of conversations. Amelia Clark sat in a window seat halfway down the carriage, her legs crossed, a paperback novel resting in one hand, and a nearly empty coffee cup cradled in the other. Her long day at the elementary school had left her aching, both mentally and physically. Her voice still echoed in her ears from reciting vocabulary words and negotiating peace treaties between squabbling fourth graders. Her hazel eyes fluttered closed for a moment, just a moment, until the sharp hiss of the train doors opening pulled her back. She glanced up, half out of instinct, and that's when she saw them. A man, tall and broad-shouldered, stepped onto the train with a small boy clutching his hand. The boy had a mop of unruly curls and cheeks flushed from the cold. In his other hand, he gripped a well-loved blue dinosaur plush toy, its head flopping sadly as they boarded. The man's eyes quickly scanned the packed car. No empty seats. He sighed and adjusted the strap of a work bag slung across his chest. The child yawned, blinking up at him, clearly exhausted. Without thinking twice, Amelia stood. "You can take my seat," she said, offering the man a soft smile and stepping aside. The man turned, a little surprised. "Are you sure? You look like you've had a day." She chuckled. "I teach fourth grade. Every day is a marathon." He let out a low laugh, the sound warm. "You must be a saint." "Just stubborn," she replied with a smirk. He gently lifted his son into the seat, the little boy's eyes drooping almost instantly as his head fell against the window. The dinosaur toy slid into his lap like it belonged there. Amelia stood beside them, holding onto the overhead rail, her shoulder brushing lightly against the man's as the train began to move again. "Thank you," he said, turning toward her. "I'm Owen, by the way. And this sleepy guy is Lucas." "Amelia," she replied. "Nice to meet you both." Lucas peeked up at her with droopy eyes and a tiny, polite smile. "Thank you, miss." She bent slightly, adjusting the scarf that had slipped off his small shoulders. "You're welcome, buddy. You take care of that dino, all right?" He nodded, snuggling into the plush. Owen watched her with quiet appreciation. There was something in her gesture, not forced or performative, just instinctive care. Most people these days avoided eye contact, buried in their phones. But not her. The train rocked gently as it sped toward the next station. The rhythmic sound of steel wheels on track was oddly soothing. For a while, they stood in silence, the hum of the train filling the space between them. Amelia looked out the window, her thoughts drifting to unfinished grading in an empty apartment. But somehow, standing there beside this quiet father and his sleepy boy, the weight didn't feel quite as heavy. She stole a glance at Owen. He looked like someone who carried responsibility well, too well. His sharp jaw was tense, his eyes alert but tired. He wore a simple ring on a chain around his neck, half hidden beneath his coat. Widower, divorced, she didn't dare ask. It wasn't her place. Still, there was a calmness about him, the kind earned through real-life storms. As the train slowed at the next stop, Owen stood and reached for the boy's hand. "We're getting off here," he said. "Are you sure you don't want your seat back?" Amelia shook her head. "I've got strong legs. Go home and rest." He looked at her for a beat longer than necessary. Something about her eyes, warm, steady, kind, made it hard to walk away. "Thank you again," he said, his voice sincere. "I hope, well, maybe we'll run into each other again." Amelia smiled. Maybe. And just like that, they were gone. The doors closed, and the train pulled away. She watched from the window as Owen adjusted Lucas's tiny backpack and led him toward the station exit. The boy turned once and waved. Amelia lifted her hand and waved back, her heart unexpectedly warm. She didn't know she'd just changed the course of her life. She didn't know that the man who had just disappeared into the crowd wasn't only a father, but also a CEO. And she didn't know that he would find her again very, very soon. The polished glass exterior of Nexora Innovations gleamed under the early morning sun, towering like a promise over the bustling city streets. Amelia stood at the entrance, clutching her portfolio, a quiet storm of nerves swirling in her stomach. She had barely slept the night before. This wasn't just a job interview, it was a lifeline. After years of teaching, side tutoring, and sacrificing vacations to stretch her paycheck, she was hoping to land a part-time role in Nexora's new education outreach program. It wouldn't replace her passion for the classroom, but it might give her enough breathing room to stop living paycheck to paycheck. Inside, the lobby smelled faintly of citrus and fresh paper. Modern artwork adorned the walls. A wide reception desk stood at the far end, where a woman with a headset and perfect posture offered Amelia a polite smile. "Miss Clark," she asked, "Mr. Weston will see you shortly. Please follow me." Amelia nodded, forcing a smile, and followed the woman through a maze of glass-walled meeting rooms, collaborative lounges, and quiet working spaces. The office had a sleek, tech-savvy vibe, clean lines, minimalist furniture, but still managed to feel alive. People were laughing softly, typing away, exchanging ideas over whiteboards and lattes. Finally, they stopped in front of a door with a frosted pane of glass and a silver plaque that read, "Owen Weston, CEO." The assistant gave a light knock and opened it. "You can go right in." Amelia stepped forward, her heart hammering in her chest. And then, her feet froze. He was standing by the window, his back to her. The voice that greeted her was calm, amused, and entirely familiar. "I had a feeling it was you." Owen turned, and her eyes widened. He looked different in daylight, dressed in a crisp button-down and slate-gray slacks, but those sharp eyes were unmistakable. The same man from the train. The father. The man whose little boy she had given her seat for. "You're the CEO." "Surprise," he said with a small smile. "Though I suppose I should have introduced myself properly the other night." Amelia blinked, caught somewhere between disbelief and embarrassment. "I thought this interview was with our." "I didn't expect." He walked around his desk and offered her a seat. "It was supposed to be with our. But when I saw your name on the candidate list, I asked to meet you myself." She sat down slowly, her fingers tightening around the edges of her portfolio. "Did I do something wrong?" "No," he said gently. "Quite the opposite." He gestured to a stack of children's books on the corner of his desk and a whiteboard covered in colorful sketches. "We're launching a new initiative, Nexora Reads. It's a literacy program for underfunded schools. We need someone with heart. Someone who knows what it means to care. Not just in theory, but in real life." Amelia tilted her head. "But, I only applied for the assistant role." He smiled. "That was before I met you." She blinked. "You're offering me, what? Exactly." "I want you to lead the project," Owen said. "Help shape it, build it from the ground up. We'll give you a team, a budget, and the freedom to bring your ideas to life." Amelia stared at him, stunned. "You hardly know me." He leaned forward, resting his elbows on the desk. "I know what I saw. A woman who stood up without hesitation to give a tired father and his son a moment of rest. You fixed a stranger's scarf. You smiled like it cost you nothing. That kind of grace, you can't fake it. And I believe that kind of person can do incredible things, if someone gives her the chance." Amelia felt something tighten in her throat. All the long hours, the overlooked resumes, the rejection emails, they had led her here. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. "Say yes," he said simply. She let out a soft laugh. "Okay, yes." Owen's expression softened. "Welcome to Nexora, Amelia." As she stood and shook his hand, their eyes lingered just a second too long. Not inappropriately, just enough for both of them to notice. And somewhere outside that office door, the soft footsteps of fate continued quietly, rearranging the rest of their lives. Weeks turned into months. The office evolved into a second home. Owen and Amelia worked closely, blending educational ideals with innovation. Lucas would often visit, wrapping Amelia in spontaneous hugs, calling her Miss Mia, and drawing stick figure pictures of the three of them holding hands. But it wasn't just work. Owen began showing up with coffee for her in the mornings, and she'd pack snacks for Lucas after school. They shared books, laughs, late-night ideas over takeout, and eventually, something deeper. One evening, after a successful charity gala where Amelia delivered the keynote speech, Owen walked her out to her car. "You know," he began, eyes glowing under the street lamp, "I've spent years thinking I had to do it all alone. But then you came along with your ink-stained hands and big heart, and suddenly, it doesn't feel so heavy anymore." Amelia looked up, heart pounding. "Are you saying you're tired of being the lone superhero?" He smiled. "I'm saying I'd rather be a team, with you." He kissed her softly, gently, like a promise. Lucas, peeking from the backseat, cheered, "I knew it." They laughed. What began as a simple act of kindness on a rainy evening train turned into a turning point neither of them could have predicted. Amelia Clark, a humble schoolteacher with a generous heart, never imagined that giving up her seat to a tired father and his little boy would lead her into the center of a life-changing opportunity, and something even more profound. Owen Weston, a single dad and CEO carrying the weight of a company and the world on his shoulders, didn't expect a stranger to show such warmth and sincerity. But in Amelia's small, selfless gesture, he saw a rare light, the kind that doesn't just appear in people's resumes or interviews, but shines when no one's watching. As they worked together, building a literacy program that reached thousands of children, their bond deepened beyond the professional. Late nights turned into long talks, shared laughs became quiet moments, and Lucas, with his ever-present dinosaur, grew to love the woman who had once fixed his scarf on a train full of strangers. Amelia found more than a job. She found purpose outside the classroom, a chance to build something meaningful on a larger scale, and a man who saw her not as a background character in his busy world, but as a partner. Owen discovered that leadership didn't have to mean loneliness, and that love could grow gently, with patience and shared dreams, and the courage to try again. In the end, it wasn't fate or luck that brought them together, it was kindness. A quiet, unremarkable moment that echoed louder than either of them realized. And from that single moment, neither of them ever left the other's life again.